Hey there, fellow knowledge seekers. Welcome to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
This time we're tackling David Deutsch's The Beginning of Infinity.
Oh, a great choice. It's a mind-bending one for sure.
It really is. We're going to be exploring some seriously big ideas about knowledge, progress, the universe.
It's not just about looking up at the stars anymore, is it?
Yeah, not at all. And that's what I find so fascinating about Deutsch's work. He takes these huge concepts.
It makes you rethink everything you thought you knew.
Exactly. He really challenges you to think differently, like his idea about knowledge.
Right. It's not enough to see the apple fall from the tree.
You have to understand the why, the how, gravity.
Right. Exactly. It's about uncovering those deeper explanations. Not just seeing patterns, but understanding the underlying recipe.
The recipe, I like that. So it's not enough to just observe?
We need to be able to explain, to predict, to create.
So in a way, it's like Deutsch is saying that true understanding, true knowledge gives us this power.
The power to shape the world around us. To move beyond just observing, to actually interacting, even creating.
And that's where the infinity part comes in, right? This infinite potential for progress that opens up.
Precisely. And that brings us to another key idea, fallibilism.
Okay. Fallibilism. Sounds a bit intimidating.
It's really not. It just means accepting that we don't have all the answers.
You mean like admitting we could be wrong?
Exactly. Embracing the possibility of being wrong. Because when we cling to being right,
it can hold us back, can't it? We stop being open to new information, new perspectives.
Exactly. Deutsch argues that this willingness to be wrong, it's the engine of progress. It's what allows us to keep refining our understanding, keep searching for those better explanations.
So it's less about being right and more about this constant striving for better understanding, even if it means letting go of what we thought we knew.
Exactly. And that's where he challenges some common but ultimately limiting views on progress.
You mean like the idea that we're stuck on this spaceship Earth, resources dwindling, nowhere to go?
Precisely. He'd say, we're not just passengers, we're builders. We can create the future we want, with knowledge, with creativity.
So instead of being trapped on a spaceship, we're building a starship.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. Because to build that starship, we need to understand the power of abstractions.
Abstractions? Aren't those the little... Well, abstract. How can something that's not a physical object have any real impact on, building a starship?
But that's where things get really exciting, you see. Abstractions, they're like the blueprints, the code, the logic beneath the surface. You can't touch a computer program right. But it can control machines, compose music, even beat you at chess.
Okay, I see what you mean. So we go from understanding the why to recognizing the power of these abstract ideas, these blueprints. But how does Deutsch see this infinite journey actually unfolding? What's next?
Well, hold on to your hat, because this is where we really dive into the deep end. Deutsch introduces the multiverse.
The multiverse. Okay, now you're just messing with me.
I wouldn't dream of it. It might sound like something straight out of science fiction, but he makes a really compelling case. And it all hinges on this idea of fungibility.
Fungibility. All right, you've lost me.
It's simpler than it sounds. Think about two identical coins. They're fungible because it doesn't really matter which one you have. They both do the same thing.
Right, 2 quarters, same difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now imagine that same principle, but applied to entire universes.
Okay, so instead of 2 coins, we have 2 universes that are practically the same. But one tiny difference, like a cosmic butterfly flapping its wings.
And that tiny difference leads to a whole chain of events, creating a completely different outcome, an entirely separate universe.
Wow, so there could be countless versions of ourselves out there, each one living a slightly different life.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting, because Deutsch argues that these universes aren't totally isolated. Information can actually travel between them.
Hold on, information traveling between universes, how is that even possible?
Think of it like ripples in a pond. If each universe is a pond and every event, no matter how small, creates a ripple, those ripples can spread out and even reach other ponds, other universes.
So what we might experience is just random chance.
Could actually be influenced by events from these other universes, like those cosmic ripples reaching us.
That's mind-blowing.
Right. And it really changes how we think about knowledge and progress, because it means that the potential for new discoveries is essentially limitless.
Like an infinite well of inspiration constantly feeding into our own universe.
You got it. And that brings us to one of the most compelling aspects of Deutsch's work, his unwavering optimism.
I'm all for a healthy dose of optimism, but facing a multiverse of infinite possibilities, isn't it a bit, I don't know, a bit optimistic to think we can solve all our problems?
It's the beauty of it. Deutsch doesn't see optimism as just some feel-good sentiment. It's a driving principle behind progress. This belief that we can find solutions no matter how complex the problem.
So it's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about believing in our ability to make things better.
Exactly. It's the difference between a society that's stuck
Clinging to the old ways of doing things.
and one that's constantly pushing forward, embracing new knowledge. It's the difference between stagnation.
And the beginning of infinity.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm convinced. Sign me up for team optimism. But if progress is all about creating new knowledge, and new knowledge leads to new possibilities, doesn't that mean that the future is inherently unpredictable?
That's the exciting part. It's not about following a predetermined path. It's about exploring uncharted territory.
Embracing the unknown.
Exactly.
But it's a bit daunting too, right? To think about all the challenges, the unknowns that lie ahead. It can feel overwhelming. Where do we even begin?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's one that Deutsch leaves us to ponder. If we truly believe in the beginning of infinity, if we embrace the idea that all problems are solvable, then what are the most important problems that we should be focusing on? What are the biggest questions we should be asking?
Wow, what a thought. So Deutsch has given us the key. It's up to us to choose which doors to unlock.
Exactly. And that's what makes this book, this conversation, so incredibly exciting. It's not about providing all the answers. It's about empowering us to ask the right questions, to challenge our assumptions, and to never stop exploring those infinite possibilities.
What a journey. From the power of explanations to the mind-bending multiverse, Deutsch has given us a lot to think about. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a renewed sense of wonder. A bit of that beginning of infinity magic rubbing off on me.
Well, that's the power of good explanations, wouldn't you say? They change our perspective, open our minds to new possibilities.
And who knows what we might discover on this infinite journey of knowledge and progress.
Only time will tell.
And a whole lot of optimistic problem solving. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the beginning of infinity. We hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did.
We'll see you next time.
Keep asking those big questions and never stop exploring.